Let's see. Okay, your statement, when we're doing the intervention hypothesis, your statement should identify the following: the target population, the proposed change or intervention, and what do you expect from that intervention. So if this happens to this population, this is what we should expect. Okay, so here's a simple example. People living in South Arlington are getting sick at an alarming rate. So let's say they have stomach illnesses. I have to use professional terms. That's just me. I don't know what the professional way of saying stomach illnesses would be, but I'm sure someone can come up with that. But people living in South Arlington are getting sick at an alarming rate. It could be any number of things. Okay, I've done some research. It could be pollution. It might be individual habits. However, after exploring all of the information, we feel that the best explanation is lead in the water. Now, I didn't just make that up, right? That had to come from professional sources. So the working hypothesis then would be, therefore, if people are exposed to lead in the water, they are more likely to get sick. Okay, that's the A than B. Right? So if they're exposed to lead in the water, they're more likely to get sick. How do I know this? Because I have data, and I made this up. It's not true. The numbers aren't true, but it's just made up. I have data that shows that bacterial illnesses have increased 90% in the last 5 years. That's how I know that. That's the statistics that I would use to prove that if people are exposed to lead in the water, they're more likely to get sick. Now, there's probably some other things I need to look at, like who those people are and what houses they live in, and has anybody looked at the water? And I mean, there's a lot of other factors in there that are coming into my research. But this, I've narrowed it down to, this is one of those facts that I think is important. Okay, so here's the whole hypothesis. There's been an increase in the waterborne illnesses, which is the problem of people in South Arlington, which is the population, due to lead contamination. We propose a new water filtration system. That's my proposed change. I don't know anything about water, but to eliminate the lead in the water. We believe this will decrease the number of waterborne illnesses by 40% in 2018. So, obviously you have to be kind of specific, right? Yes.
So the result, when you have 40% by 2018, is that something that you did, or are you actually trying to figure out?
I think that you feel like at this point, if you're going to say that, you have an idea that that's possible. And you have a way to prove that's possible. Because this is just the intervention hypothesis. You're going to have to get to, okay, so then what? Who's going to do this? When are they going to do this? Where are they going to do this? And what are they going to do? But you'd have to, so your research would show, maybe you've seen something in California where it worked that way. So you might use that as an example. You may see that historically, this hasn't been a problem, and you may use some of that information. So you wouldn't just guess. You'd have to have it based on statistical information of some kind. Okay, so part of the process, number 2, that we've kind of already talked about, is that it's necessary to have allies, to build coalitions. The textbook talks about this idea that of systems and how we use systems theory in this process. So there are several different systems that are involved in affecting change. And all of these systems have to come together and sort of work like cogs in a wheel. Okay? So you have the initiator system, you have the change system, the client system, the support system, the controlling system. And if you all are wondering what all of these things are, it's because you didn't read your textbook. So it would benefit you to read the course text in this particular case, because you're going to have a solution to your problem. You're probably going to have a hypothesis as to what you think should happen with the problem. So, but I'll give you a rundown of what each one of these systems is, but You need to read the text so you can actually see the examples of how they work together. So the initiator system is those people who first recognize the problem, who first had this first come along. And so in the lead water example, who is the initiator? So I didn't specifically say, but who do you think the initiator is? In the lead water problem, who would be the initiator system?
What are the people who got sick?
The people who got sick? Who else? Okay, so the water company might decide to initiate something. The health department might decide to initiate something. So yeah, but basically to know that the initiator system is the system that is the one who brings it about and helps us recognize it as a problem. Then you have the change agent system, and this is where it starts to get a little bit blurry. This is why reading your text is really helpful. But you need to identify, there would be one or two people who would be like the coordinators of the change effort. And we saw that in the movie. There were a couple of people that took on that leadership role. This could be a group of people in Arlington, a neighborhood group, a city council person who lives there. It could be a local nonprofit. But the change agent system is the one who brings people together for a cause. And it can be a very complicated system when you start trying to bring all of these people together. So because it's complicated, you're going to need some skills. This is where those social work skills come in. So I want to make the connection here for you that the skills that you're learning in micro, your interviewing skills, your empathy, all of those skills play into building these relationships in the community with people so that you can affect change, okay? So all of those same skills, expressing empathy, interviewing, building relationships, group dialogue, organizing coalitions, developing mutually agreed upon approaches, these are all things you're going to be doing at your job. So when you get a job, because I know everybody in here is going to get a job, entry-level social work job, you're going to be using those same things. And don't think that you can't affect change. Some people think, well, I won't be able to affect change until I get my graduate degree. But that's not true. A lot of times change can be affected, even at something a little smaller within an organization, about somebody doesn't like the way you're doing something, or somebody you have clients complaining because you're closed at the wrong hours, or those kinds of things. That's where caseworker comes in and says, hey, why don't we? Right? But you've got to have some of this background knowledge that it is possible. So this class is really to teach you that these kinds of change are possible. And it can be possible from your standpoint. I think we've seen a couple of videos like that. Got another video today too. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll through all of this today. We're going to see a video, and then on Thursday I'm going to let y'all have the whole time for your group to prepare your proposal. Okay? Okay, so you have to identify who is the client system, and these are people that specifically will be affected, and they will benefit either directly or indirectly of the change. So that's what your client system is going to be. They're generally linked to the target population. You really need to read this part because the textbook lays out some things about it can be linked to the target population, but not the exact target population to be the client system. So that's an important thing for y'all to know. The change agent should resist the temptation to jump to the easy and obvious definition of who the beneficiaries are. That's what I'm saying is, don't just assume that your only beneficiaries are the kids who are aging out, or the people who are experiencing poverty, or the elderly. Those may not be the only client systems that you have. You may have some secondary beneficiaries, which might be the community or the families of these people. So those are things to consider too. So who might be the client system in the lead water situation? People who are direct or indirect beneficiaries of the change. Okay, people that live in the area. Who else, if you could think of anything Who else might be affected by something like that? If you were able to affect change in this one area, what else might happen? Exactly what I'm looking for. Yes, yes, great. Yeah, it might have an impact on a lot of other communities too. So those would be some secondary beneficiaries as well. Okay, you're going to identify the support system. The support system is a catch-all system that refers to everyone in a larger community or organization. Members in the support system, membership in the support system is usually the people who are close by, but who is affected by the problem and who really will care about it. Then you have the controlling system. This is where the battles are usually fought, I think, is with the powers that be, if you will. Who are the delegated authorities who are responsible for this? So what controlling systems might have an impact on our lead water situation? We already named a couple of them. Okay, the local government, water department. Those are people who have a big say-so in how this goes and whether you're successful in your change. Okay, so there's also an action system, and this is who and how will this propose, how's this going to get done, who's going to do this job. You hear that a lot when you're in an organization and you're trying to make change. Everybody says, yeah, let's do this. Well, who's going to do that? You know, like we're about, just a perfect example is we're about to get a new degree, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. It was going to be a human services degree, and then that got knocked off, and then it's going to be something else. Oh, a degree in drug and alcohol, something, substance abuse. So we're going to have a degree in that. So, of course, you're sitting around the table, we're going to have a degree. What does a degree mean? It means a whole lot more classes. Well, who's going to do that? Who's going to teach those classes? So that's the first pushback you get is, who's going to take that job on? You know, who's going to want to develop all of that? So you have to have dialogue with others. You have to be informed of how the leaders of the community approach the issue. This was so evident when we went to the state the other day, that when we went to Austin the other day, those leaders have ideas that they were elected because of their ideas. So if you take somebody who is the furthest right conservative that, you know, in the world, well, they're going to have an idea about gun control, about abortion, about kids in foster care. They have ideas about all of these topics. You as a change agent need to know what those ideas are so that you can be ready to either counter-propose or bring them along with you or whatever. And coalitions can be formed. These are allies for the proposition. That's one of the videos that we're going to be watching in a second.